Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Knock Talk, where we are shedding light on all things multifamily front office tech. I'm Steve Wunch, Regional Vice President of Strategic Accounts for the Mountain Region and a 27-year veteran in the multifamily space. I am excited to introduce Demetri Themelis, our co-founder and CRO here at Knock. Demetri, I'm so glad to have you here to talk with today. For our listeners and viewers, would you please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why you started Knock?
All right. Thanks. Thank you very much, Steve. Looking forward to the conversation. So yeah, my name is Demetri Themelis. You pronounced it just right. Thank you very much for that. Hope you didn't have to practice that too much. Reason that we started Knock was really, Knock was born out of the frustration of being a renter and going through the customer journey from a renter's perspective. Having rented in Seattle, New York City, San Francisco, some really competitive markets, we understood, firsthand where in the customer journey there were pain points for, our who are today our customers, property management companies, their customers. And so we sought to improve that customer journey and bring to bear on behalf of the renters of the world the benefits of a lot of cool technologies and solutions that we've seen transform other industries. For example, when you're looking for an apartment in 2013, there was nothing on demand about it. In the way that you'd book a dinner reservation online or travel online or watch content online or a fitness class, you'd see what you like on an ILS ad or a Craigslist ad or on a website, but you have to pick up the phone and email somebody to book an appointment. We felt like we could bring on demand to the equation and help streamline the customer journey. So just kind of an example of how we started more with a focus on scheduling, and over the past 5 years have really evolved into a full-fledged intelligent front office, and with our core product being a CRM, but really helping our customers with the entire customer journey, how they attract, how they convert, how they retain.
Very cool. And thanks for that. That's a nice setup for our conversation. So as the founder of the company, I know you're in a lot of conversations with multifamily operators, with tech investors, with our customers, and you've got a really unique vantage point in terms of seeing what's going on in our industry. So to kick things off, my first question is, now that we're 6 months into COVID, and this pandemic has really created a recession here in the States and elsewhere, what do you see in the next 6 to 12 months? How do you see things looking for the industry?
Yeah, well, got to tell you, I don't love the question. Steve, we have a strict no hurt feelings policy, so I feel comfortable saying that. The reason is, I don't know, I have no idea what the future is going to look like for our industry. If I did, I should get a better job in sports betting or something like that. But, not to give you a non-answer, but I do think that we're seeing such an inward focus right now, whether it's like suppliers or our customers on operational efficiencies. Rents are down, unemployment's up, we've been really fortunate as an industry to be resilient, but we're definitely seeing pressure on the top line. So there's a ton of emphasis right now focusing on how to be efficient to protect the bottom line. And so I think, as I think about the next 6 to 12 months, a continued and more vigorous emphasis on eking out operational efficiencies. There's going to continue to be a scramble to adopt technological solutions that customers believe will be able to drive those efficiencies. And so I think, the need for, at least internally, the need, is great for what we're doing for our customers, where we're providing a platform approach, and we're helping our customers to implement a lot of these interesting new solutions like virtual appointments or unassisted showings and into their workflow, and to see what's really helping and what's not helping, what are technology solutions that help in the short term, but what's going to stick around long term. you ultimately, customers are going to need a platform that will help them make those decisions. And so I think, fortunately, we're pretty well positioned for that today.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, we've got a really rich partner ecosystem, and so it's kind of cool to see how we're able to kind of play that role of kind of trusted advisor to help them navigate through this. Because I mean, multifamily, as well as I do, tech hasn't been our forte for the last 20 years or so. You used a phrase earlier, and I hear it a lot working here at Knock, is this idea of an intelligent front office platform. Can you kind of tell us, what does that mean? How does it apply to Knock? And how is the intelligent front office different than, say, back office solutions?
Yeah. So when you think about taking a step back, a multifamily portfolio is a city. You might have thousands of units, tens of thousands of renters that are living in your properties. And there's a whole host of needs and requirements and things that need boxes that need to be checked and processes that need to be managed in order to operate successfully. And that means that there's a lot of need for interesting technology solutions. And traditionally, managers have kind of been faced with sort of two choices. You can either go with maybe a large full stack solution. We won't talk about names today, where you can kind of buy everything from one provider, and it's all one provider, but not everything is as great as you'd like it to be, but it's all one-stop shop. Or you can go cobble together all kinds of little point solutions to try to create a technology stack to serve all of your needs. And so our view for the future is that there's going to be a pretty clear bifurcation. Like the idea of consolidating parts of your tech stack into best in class groupings makes sense. Not like full fragmented point solutions, not fully consolidated one-stop shop single stack tech stack either. Sort of a best in breed, and we see that split happening as kind of back office ERP accounting platforms and front office solutions. And front office solutions, the core of that's a CRM. That's our core product today. But there's so many things that can and should be deployed, technology solutions that can and should be deployed in order to operate efficiently, to attract renters, to convert them, to retain them. And so you can use your imagination. There's quite a bit that needs to be built and to create a very efficient tech stack there. And so that's kind of how we see the future at Knock. And we intend to be, today our core product is a CRM, but ultimately we want to leverage all the really wonderful data that we have about the customer journey and use that to create intelligent solutions that plug nicely into a CRM and help our customers to, again, do their jobs more efficiently and keep everyone happy along the way.
That's great. I think anything we can do to help make the on-site teams' lives easier, especially these days, is a big win for everybody. So, okay, so you shot down my first question about what does the future look like. So let's hope this next one comes off a little bit better. What do you see as blind spots? Where are we not looking where we need to be seeing things in the multifamily space, and what's your position on that?
Yeah, I would say, the biggest blind spot that we see, and ultimately it's one of the reasons we, started Knock, is that operators don't have a lot of data in the first place to see performance. So, when they buy technology, they're rushing into the decision and implementation, and they don't really have a framework to understand the impact that those decisions are going to have to their NOI and the value that tech can bring ultimately to their company. So they're, I like to say they're running barefoot into the thorns. So I think that just ultimately the lack of data, lack of visibility, the lack of a framework in order to make informed decisions about what tech buying decisions, tech procurement decisions they're making is a really big blind spot for companies. And I think a lot of folks are quick to adopt new solutions, but they just don't have the right infrastructure in place to evaluate whether or not those solutions are actually impacting their bottom line effectively. And so nobody, nobody wants to be just chasing shiny objects. You'd like to be spending your time and making decisions that are truly adding value for your, residents or your team, your communities, your portfolio, and without having a very consistent framework in place for measuring the impact that different technologies can have on your conversions, your bottom line, it really makes a lot of effort and a lot of investment dollars kind of wasted. And so I think it's, to answer your question directly, just the blind spot is bad data. You can only improve what you can measure, and if you don't have the ability to measure, the chances of your ability to improve anything is significantly diminished.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great advice. I hope our listeners are taking away that holistic approach to making a big decision like this, because I think we don't always count the costs, and we get a solution, we plug it in, and it kind of delivers, but it doesn't really deliver what we need. I love that. So thanks, Demetri. What about on the opposite side of the coin? Those were some of the blind spots that you see. What do you see as some of the bright spots that are going on in our industry right now?
Well, without a doubt, the brightest spot about multifamily is just the people, the assets, the fact that we're as resilient of an industry as we're in. I think as challenging of a year as it's been for all of us, we have to take a moment every single day, and remember the fact that we're offering, we're all serving a fundamental human need, shelter. And so whether you're a multifamily operator or a supplier like us, like we all get to be, we're all fortunate to be able to offer solutions and services and products that are supplying a basic human need. And so, given that, we're in such a resilient sector of the economy, and I think that's not something that we should, overlook. I think being grateful is such a key to bringing, joy and happiness and having meaning in everything that we do every single day. That is, it's not sexy to say, oh, well, like the bright spot is that we haven't taken a big dive, but we got to be really grateful for that. Yeah. Second thing I'd say is for the last, since 2008, we've been, we were one of the first industries to really recover in the Great Recession, right? As people were leaving their homes and moving into rentals, the rental industry and long-term, and multifamily portfolios have been performing, very, very strong for a really long period of time. And revenue was just walking on through the door, and rental rates have been going up and up and up, and occupancies. And we've been meeting all kinds of leasing thresholds in pretty much every market and every segment around the country for a long, long time. And it's been a while, I think, you say bad habits are developed in good times. And I think that there's been a lot of bad habits developed around operational efficiencies. And so when you don't, kind of need to be laser focused on eking out operational efficiencies, you kind of overlook things, and mold grows. And so I think one of the coolest things I've seen this year, and I've kind of mentioned it before, is just this, new renewed sense of focus on creating operational efficiencies for multifamily portfolios. And, for us, thinking about front office solutions and how to be creative and how to sometimes even just get back to the basics. Like we've been, very fortunate to be a part, like sitting in a place where customers are paying a lot of attention on how can we be better at earning our keep in a really rapidly changing, dynamic, fluid environment. And so I think a big bright spot, and that'll serve us well, not only this year, getting through this year, but for years to come, is that it's the first year in a long time that folks have been paying really, really close attention to costs and operating efficiencies and all of that.
So we kind of talked about, what you see in terms of, front office technology and some good things to be on the lookout for. trending things, everybody always wants to know what the latest and greatest is. So from your perspective, and what you're seeing and hearing in your conversations, what do you think are the most important things for multifamily owners and operators to pay attention to currently?
Yeah, three things come to mind. First, on the supplier side of things, just seen a huge uptick in requests for integrations. I love that. I love the idea of suppliers working together. I think when times are good, everybody's focused on their own thing, and sometimes you can be a bit siloed from other suppliers in the industry. But in times where everybody's kind of looking for having to change their business models up and find new ways to add and communicate value to customers, just seen a huge spike in the willingness of other suppliers to want to work together and in order to help our customers. And we've been a big proponent of that and made a lot of investments in that for a long time. So it's nothing new to us, but it's just great to see that kind of spirit of collaboration really gain traction this year, just in the number of partnerships like we've announced. It's been a really exciting year in that regard. Thinking more to the operator side of things, one thing I think is cool is 2-3 years ago, I'd give speeches on panels, and a lot of folks, I'd ask the room, do you know what a CRM is? And very few people would raise their hand. And I feel like we've crossed some critical mass threshold where clients, operators, now all have, knowledge of what a CRM is, what it ought to do for a portfolio. I still think we have a lot of work a lot of work there and a lot of room to improve on kind of overall client side education of, what is a CRM? How can it benefit your organization? But I'm seeing that operators are starting to treat their leasing efforts like a sales organization. And for so long, I feel like I hate the stigma attached to we're property managers, we're landlords, we're leasing agents, and all the stigmas that are associated to that. And sometimes I'm kind of like, stop. You guys are a high-performing sales and marketing organizations.
Oh yeah.
And if you're going to think like a high-performing sales and marketing organization, you're focused on very different things than I'm a property manager, a landlord, or a regional manager, or a director of marketing for so-and-so type, property marketing. No, like you have customers, you've got revenue, you've got product, and you need to understand your funnel, and you need to be able to make data-driven, predictive decisions and allocate resources effectively. And I just feel like that stuff's finally starting to take hold in multifamily. And I feel like the more that operators continue to adopt the mentality of performance marketers, and performance operators, we'll finally get over that hump where we're not talking about how multifamily is so far behind when it comes to technology. I think if, as clients and operators, they start to evaluate technologies like high performance companies and other industries do, we'll close that gap very, very quickly. So again, it's a trend that we're very supportive of course, but something I see happening in conversations, just really elevated conversations with clients all over the country. The last thing, I mentioned three things. The last thing is just the importance of our paying attention to our people. I think I was on a plane 2, sometimes 3 times a week for most of the last few years. And this year have been, cut off from our team. And we get the pleasure of seeing each other maybe more often face to face with Zoom, but there is a difference, right? We are all blessed with 5 senses. We can have, see and smell and hear and touch and taste and all that. And I just think the fact that we've been so cut off from one another, the people that we work with, it makes it difficult to really keep up with how folks are doing, kind of emotionally battling like a really challenging year, and everybody's working really, really hard. And so I don't know that you'd call it a trend necessarily, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see which companies, are able to do a really good job maintaining like the fire internally and keeping kind of the spirit and the esprit de corps alive within their organizations. And, I'd love to learn paying attention to which companies are doing a good job at that and adopting those types of, whether it's processes or competitions, et cetera, because the more that we can, invest in our teams and making sure that our gas tanks are full internally, like we know we're going to be able to take care of our customers better. And that's, ultimately good for our business.
That's awesome. And you're so spot on, because, if we weren't able to do that when we were able to get together in person and shake a hand or give a high five, boy, really makes you feel like you're going to suffer hard if you don't have the right tools and resources in place to do that now. So great stuff. I have one final question for you. It's probably my favorite question to ask whenever I do interviews like these. And it is, what are you personally excited about in the future of multifamily? What geeks you out?
I'm just excited for an industry that's continuing to get smarter, and the smarter that this industry gets, and I've talked about it a minute ago, but the more sophisticated this industry gets, the higher the positive feedback loop that's created for suppliers like us. That means better ideas get to come to us. That inspires our engineers to want to build creative solutions. Those creative solutions help our customers elevate their game and then identify, new problems, which creates this really cool positive feedback loop. And so I think the thing that, excites me is that, again, we're just, for the first time in a long time, there's just so much focus on how to create efficiencies in our workflows, and people are paying very close attention to retention more so than I've heard. I hear clients talk about retention, way more frequently. That word's popping up than they were in years past. Thinking about 50% of next year's revenue already lives in your property if you have a 50% retention rate. And so just hearing people talk about operational efficiencies and retention and some of these, I'd say, underserved areas for so long, like I just know that within the course of a year of suppliers listening to customers and trying to build solutions, we're just going to see some really cool stuff come about. Not just the quick fix Band-Aid type solutions to help us get through a pandemic, but the types of solutions that are going to kind of forever dismantle some of our long held assumptions and really kind of untangle some of those complicated cost structures and operational structures that have been, you could say, plaguing multifamily for a long time, because there just hasn't been a focus and a really deep emphasis on solving some of those problems. And now we've got the attention. I think it's important that we do something with it and not waste this opportunity.
That's great. Well, Demetri, thanks so much for your time today. This was really insightful, and I hope for our listeners it was as well. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. And we will see you all on our next Knock Talk. Take care.
Appreciate it.